So thank you for spending your lunchtime with us. And thank you for Growth and Company for setting us up and building this amazing community that we have. I've been to a couple of events before and absolutely love them, met some amazing people, super impressive. And yeah, if you're not part of the community already, please message Joseph, Ali before to get involved. There's a really active Slack community that's very, very useful for any questions that you have. So yeah, let's kick off. So I'm Beth. I help to build early stage startups, not really sure on my job title. But one of the questions that I really wanted to know the answer to is how to beat Meta. So we brought together the best in the business for nailing non-traditional channels. And excited to introduce and have a good discussion over this lunchtime. Feel free to eat lunch, turn your videos off or keep them on, up to you. So Meta is taking up at least 50% of marketing spend in the UK. It's a fast channel to test on, but it's incredibly addictive and really hard to diversify away from it once you've drunk the Kool-Aid. So I was listening to the last event run by Growth and Company about the marriage between creativity and technology. Would really recommend a watch if you didn't attend or you haven't watched the video. But one thing that they stressed was that Meta is taking a lot of the control away from us as marketers. So the audience targeting is out of our control. We're having to lean into all of the creatives and come up with some amazing ideas to beat our control on that side. So this question has never been so pressing. We need to find a way to beat Meta, and we need to find a non-traditional channel that beats the economics of it. So let's learn how to give Zuck less money as soon as possible. And we're going to introduce our amazing panel. So speedy fire round introductions, please, folks. Who are you? What have you done? And what is or was your main growth channel that you want to talk about today? So who wants to go first? Georgia, you want to go?
Love to. My name's Georgia. I'm the sales director at Freddie's Flowers. So we cover all channels with a sales agent in it. So we cover events, pop-up street activations, and outward bound calling. Sorry.
Fantastic, sounds good. And Gabby, do you want to go?
Yeah, hi, I'm Gabby. I'm head of partnerships at Fresh Fitness Food, which is a personalised, ready-to-eat meal delivery service. Our main growth channel was online, and now is affiliate channel what I look after. And yeah, our channel is about 30% year on year from 2020, and then since I came on board as head of sales about a year ago, it's around 50% growth. Yeah, our sales agents are more relationship managers than salespeople. Yeah.
Love that. Amazing. And we had Casper before at the in-person event, but Gabby's actually built and done the thing. No offense to Casper. So I'm really excited to hear all of the learnings and how you actually executed it. So welcome to the community. And Tristan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Tristan. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Packfleet. We are an electric last mile delivery provider. We replace a DPD or a DHL for people. About 50% of our growth is outbound B2B sales, and 50% is referrals and word of mouth. Before Packfleet, I led growth and marketing at Monzo, where we got our first 2 or 3 million customers through referrals and word of mouth alone.
Amazing. What a lineup. Very exciting. So before digging into the non-traditional channels, would love to just touch on Meta, if that's okay first. Tristan, first off, I've heard a rumor that Monzo never used Meta. Can you spill the tea and tell us the truth?
Yeah, so the sort of story of Monzo is that the first 2 to 3 million customers came literally through referrals and word of mouth, and that is almost entirely true, except for our first 20,000 customers who came from Facebook at the time. This was before, when Meta was just a glint in Zuckerberg's eye. And this was pre-product 2015. We didn't have a product out in the market. We didn't have any customers, and so we built a basic waiting list to get people signed up and get them interested in what we're doing. And first 500, 1,000 people on that waiting list were, you know, friends of friends and all the usual, anyone we could get to sign up. But then the next 19,000 came through Facebook ads. Facebook ads at the time were very cheap. It's like 50p to get a lookalike person signed up. And that provided the basis for us. And actually at about 20,000, we then turned Facebook off, and all of the rest of the growth was referrals in-app, referrals through word of mouth, and was amazing. But yeah, we did do a little dirty bit of Facebook right at the beginning.
No, so why do I think that you didn't use Meta?
Every startup loves to tell a story, which is we've grown to X thousands of people or X millions of people, and we've spent nothing on marketing. And that's also the story we like to tell. And it works very well. And so, yeah, it doesn't sound quite as good, but I think it's important to understand, like, you don't want to go down this any route with a very closed off view. You need to understand actually how it works in practice, rather than just the like cool startup stories. Nice,
and thank you for your honesty, candidness. And then Gabby, have you been using Meta at Fresh Fitness Foods or not?
Yeah, we do use Meta. We sometimes switch it off completely. This isn't under my remit, it's more the marketing department. But we do find that retention of this channel isn't great. For us, the saturation is too high, efforts are wasted, and we just become white noise. So we prefer to put budget towards the affiliate channel because that's higher LTV and not so transactional. Yeah, and the affiliate channel was actually up on our affiliate. Our affiliate channel was up on our online channel by about 30% in Q1 this year.
Nice, love that. And Georgia, have you touched up Freddie's Flowers, or has it just been direct sales?
Well, again, it's not this. So the Meta doesn't sit with me, but we do use it at Freddie's. Right now, our CACs are really struggling online. I think we've seen a sort of 60% increase over the last 3 months on our Meta CACs. But we are still continuing to test new audiences, creative. But like I said, that doesn't really sit with me. I just try and beat the CAC and beat the volumes.
Beat Meta, love that. That's why.
Beat Meta. That's my job.
Yeah, sounds good. So moving into the non-traditional channels now. So Tristan, question for you. What was your approach to getting the community going, the referrals going at Monzo? Like, tell us the story there.
Yeah, so when we started, we didn't have a product. We had this idea of we want to build a bank that's better than existing banks, but other than a sort of few ideas on what that might look like, didn't really know what we were going to build. And so we spent lots and lots of time as we were building the initial product talking to customers, doing product market fit research, trying to figure out what we're going to build. And it's like I was talking to 4 or 5 customers in person every single day. They would come into our office, we'd sit down for an hour, I'd talk through, like, get them to scroll through their banking app, show us everything that they do, and talk through all of their challenges. We did that for months and months and months, really getting to grips with how customers use money. And what that meant is that then once we had a very basic product to launch, and the first version was very basic, you could go and spend unlimited money contactlessly because we hadn't checked to stop you spending if you hit 0. We gave it to those people who'd come in and given us their feedback and asked them to keep giving that feedback. And that was the start of, for us, almost accidentally building what became Monzo's community and grew to tens of thousands of people. It's still going live today. We had tens of thousands of crowdfunding investors, thousands of people coming to live events because they all really, really believed in what we were building and really cared about it. And it started out from that bit right at the beginning, going and talking to customers and saying, what do we build? Like, what do you think of what we're building and what should we be building? And at some point it becomes hard because you can't have enough meetings in the day. So you figure out a next way to do it. And for us, that was running hackathons, getting them really involved, and also setting up an online forum.
Nice. That sounds good. And like one of the questions when you were signing up for this event was about like the measurement of these types of non-traditional kind of longer term channels. How do you even begin?
Very hard. Very hard. I spent probably years of my life at Monzo trying to figure out how we measure the benefits of community, and like measure it in a statistically semi-reliable way. And honestly, we didn't get to an answer on doing it. What we did see is we went and looked at cohorts of users, and you could very, very clearly see community users on every single metric were outperforming every other customer. And so if someone was involved in our community, and there's like a big causation correlation challenge here, they would spend more, they would engage more in the app, they would open the app 60% more than a normal customer. They would invest in our crowdfunding, they would do all of these things. And obviously, the sorts of people who go and join a community are also probably the people who are more involved. And so that sort of correlation link makes sense. But we went and basically looked at all of these different points and then said to ourselves, at some point, we're going to have to just make a jump of faith. Like you have to build up enough logic through it and then be able to say it's impossible to run an A/B test on community. You can't say 20% of your users aren't going to ever hear about a community when you're operating at scale. But do we believe enough that that logic jump makes sense? And that's how we approached it for community specifically. We then built out a huge referral program that literally drove millions of customers for free. And that we measured very, very consistently. We built out a really good understanding of our virality rate, how many users each new customer would bring on, the impact of that down the line. And that's where we spent a lot of time measuring and gamifying.
Nice, bro. Sounds good. And one thing I forgot to mention at the start, if you do have a question during and you're listening to the speakers, just pop it in the chat and then we can spend some time at the end of the call to go through them. So final question for you, Tristan, just on wrapping up the community stuff. Like somebody here today on their lunch break is thinking about community or even the referral growth loops. How would you even, how would you start it, and what do you need to know to be able to start it?
Yeah, so community is one of those funny things because it had its like heyday and everyone got very excited about it and said, okay, I'm going to start a community because that's the key to crazy growth. And so they went and started an online forum, or now they're going to start a Slack channel. And I'm part of so many Slack channels of companies that have said, okay, we're starting a community, and so you join the Slack channel and it's just dead. Like maybe they post in it once a week or once a month, and they've ticked the box on community and then are surprised when massive growth doesn't suddenly appear. And I think it's kind of missing the point of why community works at its core, because it does work really well for specific companies. It works really well when you have a product that your users already love. And that's the number one thing. Like you need something at the core that people are really, really excited about. Even if it's 10 or 20 of them who are rabid fans of you and will go and tell all of their friends about you. You're off the charts on NPS, and they really, really care about it. If you have that at its core, then you build up around it and you say, what are these types of people? How do they like to engage? So for us at Monzo, in the early days, it was the typical profile was basically a 25-year-old engineer working for a startup in Shoreditch, probably male, 95% were male. And so we just really lent into that profile of people, and we started hosting hackathons and doing a bunch of stuff with API and basically trying to match with geeks. And you meet them at the point that they already are, and those people would go on forums and really understand forums, and so you build something that works for them and figure out how to engage them really, really closely. And then you can build out from there. The great thing about community is there are very few niches of people that are not eventually connected to everybody. And so even if you start with 95% male, 25 to 30-year-old engineers in Shoreditch, those people eventually do know other people, and maybe you go one step removed from them and two step removed, and suddenly within 9 months, our user base was 55% female and was still in London, but had spread from Shoreditch, and age was slowly increasing. And all of these things happen somewhat naturally when you have this sort of referral growth. And so in summary, I think it's about first of all, making sure you've got a great product. If you haven't, don't spend any time on marketing or growth or community. Really, really go and find get to a point that the product has real product market fit and people love it. And then from there, figure out what are my ideal users? What do they look like? What are those users who really love it? And how do I build something around them?
Got it. So what I'm hearing is like it's something to supercharge the growth versus it starts off the growth.
Exactly. Like that's how I always used to do this presentation on it. And because you can't measure it specifically, you can measure referrals, you can measure word of mouth even. What we saw community is if you build these viral loops where one person invites another person, community just supercharges that. It makes that viral loop either spin faster, so they refer people more quickly, or spin bigger, so they refer more people each time. And that's the way to think about it. It's the fuel on top of your growth mechanisms.
Nice, amazing, thank you for that. So moving from kind of viral virtual bank and more kind of physical, so Georgia with Freddie's Flowers, you went down a different route, dare I say, maybe a bit more old school. What made in-person sales work for Freddie's? Like what is the story there?
I think it's good to start with why we perhaps chose direct sales initially, and there were two main reasons. When Freddie started this 9 years ago, it was with a bunch of friends. It really did happen in the back garden. We didn't really have any other expertise, but we were actually quite good at door knocking. So it was the only way we actually knew how to grow a business. So that was the first thing. And then secondly, there is a CAC efficiency to it. It was very cost effective. When we started out, we were getting customers for 10 or 15 pounds. Now that has since evolved, that CAC, as we've gone into different channels. But the reason why it continues to work so well is because it is our best performing channel in terms of LTV.
Nice, thank you for that. And again, like if people are in the audience today, what should they be thinking about, even like testing it? Because it's quite from my perspective, you need quite a lot of money behind it for it to work.
I think you can test it. I think you can test it quite cheaply. So I think if anyone is considering doing this channel, I think about testing it in-house. And you can do that on a small budget. So yes, I know sort of long term, this channel can be expensive. So if you are thinking about it, think about how to do it cheaply first. So first and foremost, is there anyone in your company who can go out there and give this a go? So all you need is somebody in your company who is, really passionate about the brand, good at selling, got a bit of resilience so they can stay out there. So, think, perhaps your founder, someone to go out with your founder, to keep them focused and on the straight and narrow. But really what you want to do is test your pitch. You're developing your pitch. The great thing about London is that there is prime pavement real estate. And what I mean by that is that you can go out anywhere in London and sell for free. We're really lucky there aren't any sort of licensing. There are licensing laws, but you can get around it. So get out there, 2 people, and practice the pitch and see if you can close. Now, if you choose your location, so you want to be thinking about where your demographic is, the right audience, start practicing your pitch, see if you can close. And then if you're doing a couple of shifts, a week, and you're consistently closing, you've proven concept, and that's when you can take it to the next level. You want to develop a pitch, consistently close, and then you can put more money behind it and more people. But really, it's very cheap to test, quickly. You just need a pavement or you need a couple of doors. I make it sound really easy, but you can.
Yeah, and I didn't realize the licensing was also part of it. And when you're thinking about scaling that, did you just start in London and then just go, I'm going to try Manchester now? Like, what's the growth?
So I think, wait, so is your question, what is your question actually?
A question just about like, how do you then determine which locations to go in? So I'm assuming you started small and then where, like, how would you even go next?
So, I mean, initially we, we chose our area because it was near Freddie's back garden, and there were some neighbours, and then we were like, oh, they'll sign up because they know Freddie and they'll be really nice to us. So there wasn't anything scientific about it, I have to say. But since we scaled it, we have got a bit more scientific with the way we choose areas. So we are doing doors or street activations. We might pull data that shows us where our current customers are. And that always helps, because we, they might have seen a van, or they might have, seen one of our bicycles. So when you're knocking on a door and they're like, oh yeah, Freddie's, I've seen you guys. So that's number one. And then actually it's pretty rudimentary. Well, look, we're £30 for flowers every week. We look at the price of a house, and so we're like, right, well, that's a good location. They're over a certain price range, and then in terms of location for street activations, I look for a Gale's cafe. That is pretty much our bang on demographic. So if we have a bike, like one of our butcher bikes, I will probably look for a lovely sort of bougie cafe that we could go and park up outside. It's not that scientific. I wish it was.
I've got a Gale's opening near me, so I'm excited to see.
Oh, you just watch out. We'll be parking up outside.
Yeah,
You've got to sign up, Tristan.
I finally made it. Can't wait.
Yes. Amazing. What's your growth strategy? Gale, wherever they open. Love that. And Gabby, over to you, like with the fresh fitness foods, like would you ever consider in-person sales?
So our team is too small for in-person sales currently. We've found a channel that works. So like this month, we're up 52% year on year with the same amount of people in the team. This works for us, but our CEO, Casper, has actually been speaking to Georgia about in-person sales. So definitely something we'll be open to consider moving forward.
Love that. And Georgia, do you agree with that statement of my team's too small? Like I saw you go.
I do. I think it's like having the right people in the right spot. I mean, so to contextualize, there's 3 people in our team, but we don't do. I have to say, we're not doing affiliates. But there are 3 people in. No, that's a lie. There are 4 people in our team, but we also do our outbound retention and our outbound restart team. And then week on week, we're delivering 100. About between 70 and 100 face to direct sales shifts. That will be a combination of bikes and events. It's not actually, I don't think it's about it's not about the number of people in your team. It's like what their skill set is, and in terms of building that out in your sales agents, like how you manage those number of shifts, if that makes sense. So I don't think it's like about how many people, it's like what the skill set is and what are they doing and managing.
Yeah, got it. And when we had our in-person event, I had a chat with Joseph, and he was saying, Georgia's not even said how many people. Apparently you had hundreds and hundreds of, your team is huge. So what does that structure, before we go into the affiliate partnerships, like how is it all outsourced? Like what does that team look like?
So no, well, we do everything in-house. In terms that our sales agents are not sort of full-time employees, and our sales agents sit across 4 channels. So we offer a bike event. Oh, sorry, not a bike event, a bike shift, an event shift, and then you can also do phones. So they'll work on rekindling or restarting old customers or stopping people from going. Now, not all agents will work across every channel. You might get a couple, we call them like the golden eggs, and they can do it all. Or we might just have like an agent who just does bikes, or they just do events. But in total, we have 100 agents that sit across all the channels. They are, but they're not full-time employees. It's very helpful because I think one thing to note about sort of direct sales is it's quite seasonal. You get your sort of creme de la creme shifts, which are your events, and they generally only operate 6 months of the year, and that will be your summer event season and then your winter event season. And then you basically hire, train, pour so much love and energy into these agents, and then you don't have work for them. So the reason why we came up with these other channels was really just to kind of like maintain shifts throughout the year, make sure they don't go somewhere else and go and work with other D2C companies. So the operation we've got now enables us basically to keep our agents earning money and working with us throughout the year.
That sounds like an awesome setup. Sounds good. So moving into the affiliate partnership world with Gabby, she has been there, done that, got the t-shirt, seen the film. Would love to understand the story there. So Gabby, how did you land on affiliate partnerships with Fresh Fitness Foods, and what's the story?
So firstly, we looked at our target audience and wanted to find someone close to them to build their trust. We needed to kind of get into the mindset of our customers to realize that health professionals would be key to bringing new customers over to Fresh Fitness Food. And then we quickly realized that after doing drop-ins at gyms and explaining our service, that their client referrals were much more powerful than any other growth channels. And their organic content on social media, and over the years, a strong relationship with our brand translated to their clients being on the service for sometimes years. And at this time, a lot of Meta clients would only be on the service for a maximum of 30 days. So the LTV of the affiliate channel is much better than any other channel due to our targeted approach. And we only target health professionals that we think are the right affiliates that we work with, that we think would work with our target audience. So in our case, it's 35-year-old plus wealthy professionals. And then these potential clients are committing to getting healthy with their personal trainer. So sometimes doing transformation programs. Why wouldn't they commit to eating healthily on longer term plans with us? And then, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of white noise with Meta, definitely getting worse as more competitors pop up. And same as Freddie's Flowers, we operate in a very seasonal market, and CAC is bad during seasonal months, which I plan and account for this. But we use different tactics, and the value of our customers that we bring in is much higher than Meta. So especially in the low season.
Amazing. So like the user journey, so what I'm hearing is you partner with the fitness kind of personal trainers, and then if I was going on a transformation program, the fitness trainer would go, oh, and I also have all of your diets and like everything in there. Like how does it work?
So our sales agents kind of turn into a customer service role where we have a great relationship with that personal trainer. They know our WhatsApp numbers, they can call us, we have Instagram profiles, so they can message us on there or email. And then they sometimes just say, look, this client wants to be on this many calories, hit this macros, this is how long they're going to be working with me for. Sometimes they just loop us into an email, and then we just set it up exactly for them. And it makes a huge difference for them to say, oh, the Megan, the nutritionist at Fresh Fitness Food, can have a call with you and help you understand. We're the safety blanket for them. So it's just a value add for them, which means that they lean on us and we get the clients over to Fresh Fitness Food.
Love that. Building the trust where closest to the user is really, really good. Amazing. And Tristan, have you thought about like affiliate partnerships? You touched on kind of Packfleet. I know there's a question in the chat as well. Have you dabbled in affiliate partnerships with Packfleet?
No, not really. I mean, so we're selling B2B. So we are targeting at the small end merchants who, are a mom and pop shop or something like that. At the mid-size, they might have a logistics manager or a head of operations, and then we also work with large merchants who have whole operations teams. So I don't think, although I would love to be proven wrong, that it would match us up very well for us. Where we see benefits still is referrals and word of mouth, especially at the small end, because small businesses are actually very similar to consumers. They go and talk to their other small business owners, all part of like Facebook groups or online communities, or even in real life communities about running businesses. So we kind of treat them actually very similarly to consumers. And then the larger businesses are much more like traditional B2B sales.
Nice, sounds good. And getting into the good stuff now. When it goes wrong, when the failures happen and the mistakes, this is the best bit, and this is why we're here and sharing the knowledge. So question kind of open to the floor, but I guess I don't have the mic this time, so maybe I'll have to choose somebody. When budgets get tight and CAC is rising, quite a few of you have said like seasonality does hit the business. How do you justify these like longer term channels versus a really quick, quite transactional channel like Meta? And do you have any learnings to share with the community? Who would like to go first?
I'm happy to. So yeah, with the affiliate channel, we spend a lot of money on supporting events. So we do about 30 or more per month. So when it's the low season, CAC's rising, we completely strip back on supporting the events. And yeah, so we say no to the lower tier partnerships. And then we support about 30 or so, which is probably goes down to about 5. And then we focus on PTs only that have committed clients, one-to-one sessions with them, rather than pushing budget into Meta and advertising to people who probably won't want to buy our services, like December when everyone's famously eating lots of chocolate and roasts. And it's the low season for us is extremely predictable, so we account for this, encourage the team to go on holiday in August, and ensure that they are around when hard work needs to be put in, like the high season, like September, when everyone comes back and their kids go back to school. That's a great time for us. But yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. Like from making sure you're structuring your entire marketing, even the team, like go on holiday at this point, and then when January comes, you're like, healthy eating. Yeah. That sounds good. And you touched on the events. So you said like you stock the events. What kind of events are they? Are they kind of micro, like hyper local events in gyms, or what are they?
Yeah, so sometimes it will be sampling to 400 people. Sometimes it will be supporting an event of 20 people, a PR sort of event. A lot of them are competitions, and yeah, so some might even be a panel talk with different people in the industry, and then we'll be providing the food for that. Yeah, it's an array.
Sounds good. And Tristan, on the longer term channels, like you probably had Tom Blomfield being like, "We're not growing. What are we doing?" What was your response? How did you go back and say, "No, there's something in this. We've got something"?
Yeah, it's a really challenging question. I don't think there's like an easy answer to it, honestly. And I think it depends partly on what you're optimizing for. There will be some times where you just need growth in the short term. And if that's the case and that's the only option, then probably you're going to need to go and spend some money on performance marketing. That's why it's so powerful. The key is to, in the times where you're not doing that, like either in advance or that, or once you get, you've increased your numbers and got your next fundraising round on or whatever, and then you've got some time to breathe, then you need to lay the foundations for the future, because otherwise you'll be back in that same position in 6 or 9 or 12 months time. And so being comfortable with that, and then like your long-term goal, I think, for growth and for as a marketing leader needs to be that you build this sort of machine of processes where you have a really good understanding of the inputs and therefore the outcomes that you get as a result of that. And then you basically detach yourself from any specific one channel. It's like, if you want X growth, then you just need to put X amount of money or X amount of people into this. And it's basically just like a slot machine, and it just goes straight through and you get the outcomes. And then you go to your CEO or to the board or to whoever it is, and they say, we want to triple this year. And then you can just tell them exactly what it's going to cost them in time or money. And that's hard to get to. You need to build up first one performing channel and then multiple performing channels. But that's the long-term goal, and you just separate yourself from almost caring. Like I don't have this attraction to one specific channel. It just depends on which one makes the most sense and how you work them in concert.
Nice, sounds good. And with Freddie's Flowers, Georgia, maybe you've been in a room and we've gone, oh, it's, you know, something's happening, or seasonality is hitting you. Like, how do you go back to the exec team and go, no, we've got this, like LTV is higher, retention is better. Like what is the narrative?
It's interesting hearing Tristan talk. Like, one thing that I think is quite a challenge, like having, you know, stepping back from the channels, and it's almost like a slot machine, and just being like, right, we want to scale. And I think, you know, something like Meta and Insta, you know, it's quite quick and it's quite transactional. And that's one thing I think with direct sales is always, it's a long-term view. It will take you a while to optimize your channel, but it takes a lot of love and energy building a team like this. But in terms of LTV, for us, it is our strongest performing channel. We, you know, it's higher retention, better order rate. The customers we bring on face to face are 3 times as likely to refer. It takes time to build it, but once it's built, it's a pretty steady eddy, and it pays back.
Bro, sounds good. Right. Epic fails. Let's go. Tell me all of the things that have gone wrong, any channels you've tested, what didn't work, and why didn't they work for you?
I'm still off mute, so I'm just going to keep talking. And I'm going to say this because actually, when I do talk to anyone who want to try direct sales, this is one of like the big don'ts, having been there and done that. But we basically decided one year to use one of our most expensive and biggest events, Chelsea Flower Show. You may have heard of it. So we'll, you know, generally we'll bring in 800 to 1,000 customers on a 6-day event. And then we were slightly kind of changing strategy in terms of marketing, and we were sort of, you know, doing a lot of like above the line and growing our awareness. And then we put customer service agents on it, and they were like brand ambassadors. And I remember at the time being like, this is so, we shouldn't do this. Like, don't do it. And we didn't really get any sales, and we had no way of measuring the impact of using really nice chatty people. So that was an epic fail. Don't use this channel as a marketing tool. It will, by proxy, be a fantastic channel to drive brand awareness, and it will give you marketing, but it is first and foremost an acquisition channel. It will do the marketing secondary.
Got
so
it.
That's an epic fail.
If you were to go back to Chelsea Flower Show, like, would you put a QR code so that you had the attribution, or are you just saying, no, it's brand awareness, it's not an acquisition channel?
Well, I would say it's an acquisition channel, not brand awareness. But we tried that. That was the thing. Like we were like, we had the QR codes, and then we sort of tried to measure, uptick on, traffic, and talk about all the things I don't really know. My terminology is really bad. The uptick on the term and the thing. So we tried to measure that, and I was like, well, that's a tiny little blip, like a tiny little line, and I was like, that was ruined, and I should have given that to the sales agents, and I'm annoyed, and nothing tangible has come from us doing that.
Nice, love it, thank you. And you're nailing all the acronyms and all of the buzzwords.
Thank you. It was the online chat, isn't it?
It's so good. You're boshing it. You're flying. Gabby, do you know of any other channels that you tried, or did you start any channels before you went into affiliate partnerships?
No, I probably not the right person to. That's probably Casper. But in terms of epic fails, bringing that back to events, because we do so many of them, we've also learned that sponsoring some events don't work for us. That's normally the larger ones. We paid a lot of money on events that could have been used elsewhere. For example, we paid for a sponsorship with a big gym brand, and we spent a lot of time and money over 2-3 months, and we got little to nothing back. And we ticked all the boxes, did everything that we normally do at the smaller gyms or smaller accounts like Soho House or Peloton or David Lloyd, that worked well, and it just didn't translate. And so that was an epic fail and a learning.
Massive learnings though. Write a blog, share with the world. Let us all know. That sounds good. And Tristan?
A long list. I think actually throughout the times of Monzo, but especially in the early days, like we're going through that process of finding customers, talking to them and trying to figure out what works. And you end up trying a bunch of stuff, and some of it happens to work, like running hackathons and a waiting list, and some of it just doesn't work at all, and that's fine. Like probably 60-70% of it doesn't work. We went and tried to do in-person sales outside Old Street Roundabout, giving out hot coral cards. It was a bunch of like awkward engineers trying to talk to people as they came out of Old Street Station. Didn't work at all, unsurprisingly. We did a massive tube ad campaign that had literally no meaningful impact on sales or brand awareness. The list goes on. And I think part of it is like being comfortable with that you go in and you say, okay, we're going to trial X and Y. Let's at the beginning, and marketing people are really bad at this, like let's at the beginning set up our success metrics. Like what do we want to see as a result of this? And then be really honest with ourselves after if it doesn't work. And it's fine if it doesn't work. But what I see so many marketing people do is not do that. And then you go in and you're like, oh, actually lots of people probably did see it. And so our brand, and you just like try and bullshit your way out of it. And it's just pointless. I think kind of similar to Georgia, for almost all things, I think you try and attribute acquisition to them. We did it, like we ran a £5 million TV campaign and said the only metric that we're going to measure it on is acquisition. And it outperformed every single channel, including Meta, on acquisition, and brand awareness and other stuff was good. But the like default for marketers, especially more brandy marketers, is like, hey, it's really good for brand awareness. And I used to think brand awareness was total bullshit, and now I'm like, it's semi bullshit. So that's my like biased position on it. But that I think is the way to approach experimentation in like marketing and acquisition in general.
Nice, yeah, quick tests. And like thinking about this, like stunts or guerrilla marketing, have you ever dabbled in that and had any failures? I've had a few, but I'm not.
I always hated guerrilla marketing, and so with no real base, like I just didn't like the idea of going out and doing it because I don't like that. So we never did it. Not based in any reality, in like any data for that. Luckily.
Nice, sounds good. And if we were going to go back in time and we're starting your channels again, so non-traditional channels that you've touched on today, what would you do differently? What are the nuggets that you want to share with the community today?
I think for me, it would be that until you get to like a huge scale, you really don't need multiple acquisition channels. Like long term, that's what your goal is. But the temptation, and I had this, and I see lots of people with it, is you've got one and you've got some green shoots in something, whether it's a non-traditional channel or something like Meta or Google. And then you feel like, okay, now we need to build another one. And so you sort of take your eye off that, or you're like, oh, maybe we're starting to cap out there, and you start spending on a different channel. And for most channels that are starting to work, you can scale them much further than you would expect. Like even the things I hear today, it's like kind of blows my mind that like Freddie's Flowers can still go door-to-door selling. Like you would expect everyone knows Freddie's Flowers and people are not going to sign up. And it obviously does work. And the same is true for every channel, including Meta. Like the amount you can scale it is significantly higher, I think, than you expect. And the benefit of getting one channel working really, really well first before you try and diversify too much is very understated. So I made that mistake many times and try to avoid it currently, but let's see.
Yeah, sounds good. Don't be scattergun, focus on what you've got. And it's also different for every company, right? It's not going to work. Yes, it worked for Monzo and that was a really special moment, but doesn't mean you can just replicate it again. Nice. And Georgia, going back in time.
I was just going to jump in. Just following that, what Tristan was saying, Freddie's has been on such an interesting journey. Like, we started off doing purely direct sales. Again, I'm just thinking about what Tristan said at the beginning about like all startups have that story. But I was like, no, but Tristan, it's true. We really did grow our customer base to 20,000 by door sales alone. I'm pretty sure we did though. But you know, it was what we were really good at. And then we got really excited because we could hire really clever people who knew how to do lots of other things apart from door knocking. And we were, you know, when you go through your sort of, the trade, and there's like 12 different online channels, and for us, you know, they had its heyday, but we put so much focus and we got so excited on all these new channels. They took all the money away from me, and then all of a sudden those channels actually, they were starting to struggle. And I think we did take our eye off the ball on what we do really well, and that is direct sales. So it's interesting, having kind of been through this kind of like digital frenzy here, we've kind of come back round, and it's all, you know, we're going back to what we do really well, and we're doing grassroots kind of stuff. So we're going back to doors, we're going back on the bikes with the view to kind of doing what we do best, and it is really working for us. And like you said, like, it will be different for each company, but whatever started out well, keep going with it, I would say.
Yeah, so don't go scattergun and stick to what you know.
Yeah,
don't,
we started.
oh, other people are doing this, so I must do
different. I was like, wow, what is that? I didn't even know that was a channel.
Anything could be. Sounds good. And Gabby, going back in time, like, you must have learned so much from setting up this channel, and it's absolutely flying. Like, what learnings can you take away from it?
Well, one that screams out at me is definitely hiring the right people is really important. And we've definitely learned who are the right salespeople for our company. It takes 6 months to properly get those relationships going with our partners, and they'll have maybe 6-7 points of contacts at our enterprise accounts. So it's really important that they're likable and switched on. We have had some people who've been invited to weddings of people that they account manage. They're that close. So it's really important that they understand the needs. And as Georgia said, with the Chelsea Flowers show, not having the customer service people there, but having the sales people, that mindset. As we're such a small team as well, it's really important that we have the right people.
Definitely, hiring is key. For sure. I'm conscious about time, and we've got loads of questions in the chat. I've tried to incorporate the questions that people have signed up to and added when they signed up, they added in. So hopefully this is being useful for everyone on the call. Last question, kind of fire round, is are there any books or podcasts that you've been listening to recently that you want to share with the community that would be useful? Georgia, you smiled.
Yeah, I was like, obviously I'm not going to tell you that I'm reading Lessons in Chemistry, but I'd really recommend it. I'm also, alongside that, I'm reading this book. A friend of mine works in product, Jake Knapp's. What's it called? I've written it down, The Sprint. It's really great. And really, it's more focused on product, but it's like how to test and bring a product into like actuality, and it takes 5 days. But I guess what's really brilliant about it, and why I love it, is it's how to, with your team, test and try a channel. And I think something for direct sales, it just lives and breathes off trying new things, being really creative. What else can you try? And you've got to have a framework for testing those things and actually actually doing it. So Jake Knapp's and Lessons in Chemistry. It's a great book.
Love that. Yeah, there's so many like tests that you can do, even if you laser focus on sales. Like maybe it's not Gales, maybe you need to go outside of David Lloyd.
Exactly that. Like, and it does this channel does wear, especially your sort of cheaper ones. You know, I know that people, don't worry guys, because you're here on this call being like, oh my god, if I see another Freddie's flower, butcher bite one more time, right? So people were starting to kind of walk the other side of the road, and so you need to find a new space for your agents to sell, and it needs to be creative, and you need to be able to kind of like whip that out. Try and test.
Nice. Any books, podcasts?
Nothing really useful. I try and avoid reading about work. I've got to be very compartmentalized, so I'm reading some crappy sci-fi at the moment about.
Come on, Tristan, what is it? Tell us what it is.
The guy called John Scalzi. Anyone know? It's like space opera, people fighting each other in spaceships, like relatively poorly written and just absolutely amazing. So if you need a break from work, I recommend that.
Sounds good. And you said in person you were starting a book club as well. Are you still doing that to relax?
Yes, I started book club, but the book club was on Monday and I didn't go because I hadn't read the book and I just pretended I'd forgotten the date. So yeah, I need to improve on that. But thanks for calling me out on that, Beth.
Sorry, that was awkward. Moving on. Gabby?
Well, Tristan, you should do what I do. I'm a bit of a cheat, to be honest, and like to save time. So I just go on ChatGPT and say, give me a summary of this book, and then write all the notes down and feel like I've read it and got the key takeaways, and then move on to the next one.
I love it. Sounds
yeah,
good.
or listen on 1.5 speed. That's a good one.
Always 1.5. Nice. So moving on to questions, we've got quite a few. I did try to incorporate them whilst I was talking and multitasking and doing a terrible job at that. There is a question that's coming out quite a bit around referrals, Tristan. Do you want to take a couple of those? So I guess a question around like incentivizing versus non, and does that break the model entirely?
Yeah, so I think incentivizing versus non and sort of how you scale it, I think at its core comes back to the point I mentioned earlier, that referrals will only work if you have a great product. They are based on your customers loving you and wanting to tell their friends, and then you set up a referral mechanism to basically make it easier to tell their friends rather than force them to tell their friends. And what often happens is people will start referrals and they've got product market fit-ish, or they're close but not quite there, and so it starts to work. But over time you have to push people more and more and more to refer. You have to like put more money into it. You make more money to refer people, or incentivize it harder, or it starts to tap out because you can't scale it. And normally that comes back to actually at its core, like either it's like a product that you can't refer for, but that's relatively rare, or you haven't got a good enough product market fit at its core. If you do, then people will refer you for free because your product's so great for them and fits their needs so much. And then you use incentives, I think is probably the word. Use money basically to supercharge that again. So for 2.5 years at Monzo, referrals were totally free. The only benefit you got was moving up a waiting list, or like the warm glow of knowing that you invited a friend. We then moved to give £5, get £5, which Monzo still uses. And it did make a massive impact. It increased referrals by 60 or 70%, but on top of a massive base at that point as well. We then experimented with more. We experimented with 10, 20, 30. And the incremental costs, crucially, the incremental benefit was not worth it. So we stuck at 5.
Nice. And I've always been intrigued, even though I was kind of there, but I had a lot of hiring to do. The number on the wait list, was that real? Like,
it was based in reality.
Elaborate.
Originally. So originally it was real, and we built it very quickly, and so very quickly it wasn't real, not through like nefarious reasons, but just because it had been built quickly and was an estimation. And at the time, it was like surprisingly challenging as a technical problem to have a waiting list where you're having people move up and down constantly. And it was actually, we decided fine for it to be a sort of rough approximation of where you are in the waiting list. And it stayed like that for a long time. Occasionally, people would notice that they had the same number as someone else. They'd tweet it, and just like by chance, they'd say, "Wait, what? I'm also number 1,425," which was a bit awkward. But yeah, well, it was close enough.
Love that. Sounds good. Moving on to another question. So I think we've answered quite a few of these already, just about like attribution, out of home. There is a question for George. No, we've done the retention. Matthew, you've asked a good question for Gabby. Do you want to unmute and ask away? Let's get people involved.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was just interested in terms of you dealing with PTs and how you arm them with the right information or collateral to enable them to sell. Do you go down that route, or actually do you try and keep it more conversational, organic, so it leads into how they work with their clients? And then on the other side, I was just wondering about, do you incentivize them? Is it purely a commercial relationship, or is it about you get free food for the month, you're a PT, you want to see your clients, you are eating the same food that they recommend, and that's whole part of how that model works. So I was just sort of interested in on your approach for that.
Yeah, so we work with them in different ways depending on how much involvement they have with us. We sometimes give a list of requirements and kind of teach them how to sell. Sometimes that doesn't work for some PTs, but we generally find that a lot of clients want to be like their PTs. They want to have the same protein powder, they want to look like them and have the same habits as them. So from that, we have found that get them on the food and let them, you know, be a genuine referral. And we don't give free food away. They have to earn it. So free food, that's marketing, that's ambassadors. Affiliates are a part of the channel that they have to earn it. So the more people they refer, the higher the discount they get. Again, pushing them to spark, you know, conversations about us. So yeah, we do have affiliates who have been on the service for years and years, and then whenever they get clients that have dropped off, they kind of come to us and say, oh, what can I do so I can get my discount? And that's where we will relay all the information, and we have a graphic designer who'll make up all the assets, or sometimes we'll go down and we constantly have campaigns that they then push to give new updates, like menu updates, for example, that they get their clients excited about.
Great, that's very interesting. I used to work at a fitness food company a while back, and so I'm interested to see how you execute.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks very much.
Great question, Matthew. And I never realized that if you sign up to a personal trainer, you want to be like them. And now I'm like, oh wow.
Well, that's what they say.
Sounds good. Amazing. So I'm gonna start wrapping this up now. Conscious, I don't want you to be 5 minutes delayed for all of your meetings this afternoon for everyone. So I'll give you 60 seconds back of your life. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's been useful. Thank you. Big round of applause for our panelists, absolute superstars. And yeah, hope this has been useful. If you have any feedback, you can pop a message. There's lots of hands being raised. You can pop a message in the Slack community, but have a lovely rest of your afternoon. And if you have your hand up, let me know why. Are you okay?
Beth, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. See you.